Hey everyone, welcome back to Patriot Ridge Farm. It's Mike. A couple of videos ago when I talked about the farm, the history of the farm and everything. So where that big staghorn sumac tree is right there is where the barn used to sit. That's where the old barn sat. As a matter of fact, there's an old piece of equipment right there. I don't know if it's an old disc plow or what it is. It's kind of overgrown right now, but there's something that the tree has grown up through the middle of. I came out here, had a tree here fall at the end of last season. A lot bigger than what I thought it was, and the ground's just too wet right now for me to even try to move it with this tractor. I just dug in and tore up the grass a little bit, so I'll wait till it dries up, come out here with the chainsaw and cut it into more manageable pieces where I can drag it out of here. That'll be firewood for next year. But this is where the old barn set. If you can see that back part of that field that goes down through there, there's a ravine that runs down through there with trees and stuff in it. On the other side of that, there's the other half of this field. And back over in there is where on the other side of that little ravine is where the chicken coop was set to where the scab miners used to use as a bunkhouse. So I thought while I was out here, I'd kind of show you guys that. So this video is going to be for the young folks. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because more and more people that I've talked to here in the last however long, nobody's set up for retirement. A lot of people aren't doing retirement stuff. And I can tell you from firsthand experience that I didn't set up any kind of retirement for myself until I actually went to work for the federal government. And that was 15 and a half years ago. Now, what I did when I was a young paramedic, I didn't save a dime, did not save a dime. I had to have my own place, so I had monthly rent. I had to have a new truck, so I had the monthly truck payment. And I partied a lot. I went out on the weekends and everything. I was a weekend warrior. And that kind of job, that job isn't employment, it's a lifestyle. It really is. When you get into emergency medical services, fire service and stuff like that, it takes a certain breed to do that kind of stuff. And let me tell you something, it'll sink its claws into you, and you live, sleep, eat, and breathe that kind of lifestyle. And it wasn't until I had a shoulder injury that I had to be off work to have my first surgery, first of 3 surgeries on it, that I realized it was time to get away from it. My mom, God bless her, had been on me for years about going back and getting my nursing degree and getting away from that kind of work. And I was like, yeah, one of these days, Mom, when I'm ready, when I'm ready, when I'm ready. And it actually took that injury for me to realize it was time to get away from it, because I was off for, I think, almost 3 months I was off for recovery. And before I could actually go back and actually start lifting. And about the first 2 weeks, I didn't miss it anymore. And I knew it was time to move on. So just a short history here is what I did was while I was off recovering, I had my transcripts from the college that I had attended and had multiple classes under my belt. I had them send the transcripts to another college for their nursing program, and they reviewed them, and the chair of the department called me and she said, hey, you just need one more class. She said, if you can get that class knocked out in summer school and pass it, she says, we'll take you in August. And this was May of 2001. So I went right into summer school. I took the class, I passed it, I sent my transcripts back to them, and they said, are you still interested in coming? I said, yes, ma'am, I sure am. She said, okay. She goes, welcome to the program. She says, you'll need to go get a hold of the registrar's office and get all your stuff done up here and everything like that. And I did. And I didn't tell anybody. Until the day that I turned in my letter to my employer. I was like, look, I know you guys aren't going to believe this, but I'm going to nursing school. I'm going to be moving away and going to nursing school, but I'd like to keep some part-time work here. The reason for that was because I wanted to get a job in a hospital up there to get some in-hospital experience. There's a huge difference between in-hospital and pre-hospital. So anyways, and that's what I did. I took a part-time job up there, 24 hours a week, working in a hospital, and then I would come home most weekends and work 2 12-hour shifts and get back to my place where I was living in school, which was my parents' camp, by the way. Is where I lived for 2 years while I was in nursing school. And I had to continue to have an income. I had to maintain health insurance while I was in nursing school. So I had to continue to work, and I worked 2 part-time jobs, which equaled out to pretty much full-time employment, even though most of my time was spent evenings right after school until 10, 11 o'clock at night, then go home, get up next day, go to school, then repeat it again, or taking off on Friday evening, going home to my home here in this area, and working 2 12-hour shifts over the weekend at the squad. So anyways, when I graduated nursing school, I got my first nursing job, and I was 32 years old, and it was the first time in my life I made a paycheck over $1,000. It was actually my first paycheck was over $1,000, and it was the first time I never even made a paycheck of $1,000 at that point. I loved what I did as a paramedic. Like I said, it'll consume you. And I was making $10.86 an hour when I left that job. And I was one of the more senior people there, had been there for a very long time, had a lot of experience, was rescue chief, was line officer and everything like that. $10.86 an hour. So anyways, to shorten this story, when I got my first job as an RN, the hospital that I worked for had a retirement system set up that they would contribute a very small amount to, and you can contribute up to whatever percent that you wanted to, and I didn't. First thing I wanted to do was find land, put a house on it, and that's what I wanted to do. And that's when I found this property, bought a used mobile home, put it on the front, ran utilities, and I was making at that time, my truck was paid off, so I was making a land payment, I was making a house payment, and then I met my wife, and that was the smartest thing I ever did. Because I met her at my first job, and it wasn't long after we had met and got together and everything that she went to work at the VA. So she had 5 years on me at the VA when I moved over to the VA, and they have a really good retirement system set up. So they contribute X amount, and you contribute up to, I think 15% is what you can contribute to as the max, and I think they'll match up to 5%. So she'd already had her retirement set up, and she's got a great head on her shoulders when it comes to that kind of stuff. And me, I was just willy-nilly. I was still living my life and everything like that, but I got to the point where I realized that the most important thing in life was not what I wanted, but what I needed. And she brought that stability to my life. And, you know, she set up the retirement for me and everything like that through the federal government. And then the money that, from my first employer, the money that they had contributed to my retirement for the 5 years that I was there, I rolled it over to a financial advisor at Edward Jones to put into a 401k. And then later on, I converted it to a Roth, and then converted my retirement through the federal government to a Roth. And that way, all the taxes come out up front when I'm withdraw from it in the future, get my monthly whatever I decide I want to take out of it. I don't have to pay taxes on that. So for the young folks, I want to tell you something. I'm 53 years old, and I just found out here a few weeks ago that because of good sense, mostly from my wife, I'll give her that credit. So most of the sense came from my wife and her influence and everything over me, not with a rolling pin or a baseball bat or anything. But, you know, getting set up like that in that retirement and having a good financial advisor that we do have through Edward Jones. Now, you can choose Schwab, you can choose Fidelity, whoever you want to. But I'm going to tell you right now, if you're a young person, I know there's 18, 19, 20-year-olds right now working fast food jobs making 15, 16 bucks an hour. Be smart. You don't have to have the new car. You don't have to have the fast, sporty car. You don't have to have the newest clothing trend. You don't have to have all the big stuff that's out there. You are not impressing anybody. If people are impressed by what you're driving or what you have, those are not the people you need to be around. There's a quote that I heard several years back, and I think you probably heard me say it on my channel here if you've ever watched any of my videos, is we get old too quick and wise too late. And that is a statement or a quote that should be in the Bible. I really think that, because at 53 years old, I look back on my life and I realize I've probably got more years behind me than I've got left in front of me. And things start to make sense when you get a little older. When you realize there's things that you need versus what you want. You stop caring what people think of you. You stop worrying about your status or your reputation and stuff amongst people. I used to have a very large circle of friends, and now I have a very small circle of friends. And it's just because I didn't conform or continue to conform to what people think are important. And I know, believe me, I know, when you're young, you're invincible, you got your whole life ahead of you, and you know, you're out to dominate the world and do everything that you want to do and have everything that you want, and that's not important. That is not important to you at all. And whether you pick the lifestyle of living on a farm or homesteading or anything like that, that has nothing to do with this. What makes the most, or what is the most important thing is that you set yourself up so you can retire when you're able to retire, not when you have to, or that you have to retire from your full-time job and go get a job at Walmart as a door greeter or something like that to supplement your income to make ends meet. Don't depend on Social Security. When we went and met with our financial advisor at Edward Jones, they have a system set up where they'll plug everything in, all of your current debt, what your current income is, what your projected income is, what your age is, what your projected retirement date is, what Social Security says you will currently get if you retire at this age. They plug it all in there. And then they ask you, what do you expect out of retirement? What do you want to do with your life? Do you want to travel the world? That's going to cost X amount of dollars or in this range and stuff like that. And do you want to base all of that on to include your Social Security income? And we said no. We said no. We said don't, because if Social Security is not here, we don't want to have to go and continue to work 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years to be able to live. And when they plugged it in without Social Security, we came out green on all ends of it. So we come out in the green, good to go, and that makes Social Security gravy for us. Okay, you have got to look at things differently. I know here's the old guy sitting on a tractor in the middle of his field telling you about life, but believe me, I've lived my life. I've experienced a lot of stuff. I've seen more human tragedy in 1 week than most people will see in a lifetime. And I got away from that. I didn't need to see that anymore. There's things that I can't forget, that I can't unsee. And that doesn't mean anything about what kind of profession that you're in. I'm just telling you, you realize there comes a time when other things become way more important, and what was important to you falls off the wayside. If you're a young person in the 18 to 25 year range, I don't care where you're working, start saving money right now. Whether it's $100 a check, $100 a pay, or $100 a month, start saving money. When you get that first $1,000 to $2,000, go find you a good financial advisor. Ask people, who's a good financial advisor? Don't listen to your neighbor. It says, oh, my neighbor's son, he's a financial advisor, and he was always a smart kid. That's not who you want to hear about. You want to hear about the people who are getting results and producing results. Go get you a good financial advisor. We found one of the best, in my opinion. I think several people gave good references to him. We went and talked to him. The man knows his business, and he's very personable. He's not there to sell a product. He's there to help you save money, invest your money the right way, get the returns that you need and you deserve, and be able to retire comfortably. And I cannot complain one little bit about that. As a matter of fact, we just started popping money. We have our own retirements through the federal government, and then we have separate retirements through him, and we've been adding money each pay into that as well, because I've got a woman with a good head on her shoulders who's financially and fiscally very responsible, and we've got to the point where we could start contributing to that on top of what we're getting from our employer. So save your first $1,000, $2,000, whatever it is. Go get a financial advisor. Put that money in. Say, look, I'm 20 years old. I want to be able to retire when I'm 60 or whatever age you decide you want to retire at. And once that money's in there, set up an automatic withdrawal from your bank account for every 2 weeks or every month of $100 every 2 weeks, $200 a pay, $200 a month. Just keep adding that money to it. Don't think you're going to be a whiz at the stock market. You can download these Schwab apps and Fidelity apps and do day trading and stuff like that. You don't want to do that. You're going to lose in the end. You're not going to get anything like that. These are good, solid investments based on the S&P 500, the Dow, and stuff like that. And yes, the stock market goes up and down. A lot of people don't trust it. But if you put that money in your mattress or in a shoebox in your closet, it is not growing. It is not growing. It's not losing, which there is risk in investing. But in the end, ultimately, it'll come back. I mean, even after 2001, during September 11th tax, people lost a shit ton of money in their retirements. But they weren't close to retirement. And yes, that hurts. That stings really bad. But they weren't close enough to retirement, and within 7, 8 years, they had regained it plus, because you get what's called compound interest. And as that you start to, as you continue to have a good return every year on that investment, and you continue to add to it, you build that compounded interest in the, overall. And in the end, like I said, even if Social Security is not here, we are going to be comfortable in our retirement. And I can retire at 60. I don't have to wait till I'm 62. Financially, we will be good when I'm 60. And my wife should be able to retire at 58 and a half. So all the partying aside, all the fast sporty cars, all the best clothes, all the fancy shoes, all the newest iPhones or Samsung Galaxies, or, the gamer stuff like that, man, that stuff means absolutely nothing. It took me a while to grow up. It did. It really took me a while to grow up, and it took the right person in my life to get me to grow up. And I'm not ashamed to admit it. I'm not ashamed to admit it. She absolutely is my saving grace, and I can't ask anything more than what I've got. I wouldn't trade her for anything, no matter how mad she gets at me sometimes. I still wouldn't trade her. But get your life stable. Start saving that money, get it invested, contribute to that investment. Even if you don't have a retirement through your employer, you can do it on your own. Yes, there's monthly program fees involved in it. It's nominal. It's nominal, okay? It doesn't mean anything. And if you get a financial advisor that tries to get you in all these big stocks and all these, high risk stuff, don't do that. Take some risk. As you're young, take some risk. Let them tell them, say, I want to, go a little high risk for a while to help, gain that money. And if you lose, you're going to lose. If you gain, you're going to gain. But, wait until you're closer to your retirement, the last 5, 6 years before your retirement, and then move it all more closer to a conservative side where you're not as risk, you're lower risk and stuff. But I see so many people now who have no plans for retirement. They don't have savings account. If they do, there's less than $100 in their savings account. They're scraping by paycheck to paycheck, but they're more worried about the newest phone, about the newest video game, about just stuff that is not important. It's not important. Give it up. Be the responsible one. Open your eyes, look around you, and say, you know what? Life is short. And even if you live to be 100 years old, even 100-year-olds will tell you life is short. And one day when you're 53 years old and you look back and you go, damn, where did time go? You'll understand that. Don't wait till you're 53 to do that. Start right now. Get those early investments going. Start saving that money. Be responsible. Don't brag about it. Don't tell nobody about it. Nobody's business what you're doing or how much money you got saved up, because then you're going to get a lot of buddies. And a lot of buddies are going to want to borrow a bunch of money from you, and they're not going to pay you back. So be smart. Take some time, sit down with the financial advisor, find a good one in your area. A lot of word of mouth is who you're going to find is going to be your best connection, and go that route. Don't listen to your neighbor's uncle's nephew's cousin who dropped out of college or graduated with an associate's degree in economics, and now he's working for a fly-by-night company. Oh God, I see that all the time too. But anyways, I just wanted to put that out there, because so many young people that I run into today, and even people now that I work with, that work at the facility that I work at. I have to work until at least I'm 67. I got to do this and I got to do that. I can't afford it. I'm going, are you out of your freaking mind? What are you doing? You make more money than I do. You've been here 10 years longer than me. And what the hell did you do with your life that you got to work until you're 70 years old, 67, 70 years old to be able to retire? Good Lord. And I know things happen in life. I do. I understand that. But you got to be smart. Time to grow up, put the big boy and girl pants on, and make the right decisions in life. Because this world's not going to be easy on you. Anyways, just want to throw that out there. I don't get to talk to enough people, young people, as much anymore, and to be able to pass on life lessons that I've learned. And they don't realize or see the people that I see that are 67, 75 years old, raising their great grandchildren, and you know they've already worked their lives, they've retired, and now they've got the responsibility of raising their great grandchildren and all this other stuff, and they're having to find part-time jobs. Set yourself up for success instead of failure. Again, fancy cars, fast cars, sporty cars, what other people think about you is not important in this life. Get and stay prepared. Stay free. God bless y'all.